What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, everybody saw this one coming. Just 7 games into the 2022-23 NBA season, the Brooklyn Nets and coach Steve Nash have, quote, agreed to part ways, which is just a more euphemistic way of saying he's fired. Nets assistant Jock Vaughn will serve as acting head coach for the Nets game against the Bulls on Tuesday. This concludes the horrific Steve Nash era in Brooklyn after 2 full seasons, along with 7 games according to this season. The Nets had stumbled to a 2-5 start to the season despite their roster being relatively healthy for the first time in years. Steve Nash finishes with a 94-67 record, which on the surface seems great, but this team has been disappointing from the get-go. Now, they got to pass the first year, I believe, that Steve Nash was there. That's the year that Kyrie Irving was hurt. Kevin Durant was recovering from the Achilles rupture. So they got to pass the first year or so. But he and Kyrie Irving never got off to a good relationship. Kyrie never respected him. KD more or less didn't respect him as a coach. The next year, that's when they completely revamped the roster, which threw all of us in the LDBC for a loop because they had a nice squad there, a championship level squad. But KD and Kyrie got fucking greedy, trying to compete with the Warriors, trying to compete with LeBron James. So they traded everybody in the kitchen sink for James Harden, who at that time appeared to be finished, but was actually just carrying around a lot of excess Homer Simpson weight from doing everything he could to get traded from Houston. But he didn't really want to go to Brooklyn, but he went to Brooklyn, always was complaining from the get-go, complaining about the weather, complaining about the neighborhoods, complaining about the tax rates. And all the while was scheming to get out of Brooklyn. Some of us even think that, in hindsight, he was playing poorly in some instances just so he would be traded. And that season ended up being a disappointing one because while everybody had them pegged to go to the finals at least, they were stopped in the second round by the Milwaukee Bucks, who eventually won a championship that year. The next year, they would be ousted last year in the first round by the team that they had beaten the year prior in the first round, the Boston Celtics. Also, what was so disappointing about Brooklyn is that last year, as late as Christmas, they had the best record in the Eastern Conference. As late as Christmas. But there was a tremendous free fall where a combination of injuries to KD, Kyrie not playing because of his stance with the elixir, which dominated the NBA, and James Harden finagling and maneuvering to be traded, all led to a disastrous second half for the Nets, where they barely finished above 500 and were disgracefully swept out of the playoffs by the Boston Celtics. So this year, Ben Simmons supposed to be healthy, Kyrie healthy, KD healthy, and Ben Simmons is playing like shit for the most part. Kyrie has been playing well, but, there's been this recent distraction with Kyrie. And you just got this feeling that Steve Nash had lost the team. And, of course, we see what we see today. Despite his record, and this is why I always say regular season records are not the be-all, end-all when grading coaches. 94-67 doesn't sound bad. It's a pretty good record, right? But Steve Nash has to be one of the most horrible coaches, perhaps the most horrible coach I've ever seen in my life. But you know what's so sad? Steve Nash isn't going to get that much criticism. It's going to be levied at KD and Kyrie. especially Kyrie now. And I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Nash gets another coaching job eventually. He's probably going to go into the media. He's going to, be an analyst somewhere for a while, and then this guy's going to get a coaching job, even though he's a horrible fucking coach. But Steve Nash is now a memory with the Brooklyn Nets. Tell me what you guys think.